So welcome, and we're going to be going over Lightroom. So I'm going to be doing this is like a multi-part series, and the reason for this is retention value. It's hard for people to learn the whole program if I just sit down here and blah 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 and go through it. So we're going to do a multi-part series so you can learn a little bit, try it, learn a little bit, try it, learn a little bit, try it. All right, so we are starting off in the import of Lightroom. All right, so this is showing my EOS SD card that I have in the side of my camera. This is actually not an SD card. This is actually a compact flash. But whether it's an SD or compact flash, it doesn't really matter. It's showing up right here. So I'm selecting that. I'm telling the Lightroom that this is the drive that I want you to read the photos on. All right. So the next step over here is copy is what we're set up. And copy means it's going to be taking the images from an SD card and moving them to another place like a hard drive. All right. Copy as DNG means I'm going to take the images from the SD card or compact flash card, move them to a hard drive, but convert them as to a DNG, which is digital negative. It's still a RAW file. So this is a CR2, which is Canon's native file. NEF is Nikon's file. But some people might want to switch over to a DNG. You can do that. That's fine. That's available. All right. Move is literally just moving the files from one spot to another. All right. So that's telling the catalog where to go. And then add, meaning these images would already be on the hard drive where you want them to be. You're just adding to the catalog. So speaking of catalog, this is something you really need to understand in Lightroom. It's probably the number one thing that frustrates people because it gets confusing and they can't find their photos. Lightroom is kind of like a combination program. It's an editor, a browser, and it also does something called cataloging. All right. I personally can't stand the cataloging because I shoot so many photos. I go through hard drives, and the cataloging feature does not serve a purpose. Plus, the process is very slow. It takes about 5 or 6 times longer to ingest or import through Lightroom than it does in Photomechanic. So what happens is if you take these images, so right now we're going to move these from here to here. All right. Once I've done that, if I take these images and move them to a different spot, Lightroom will not be able to find them. And once you have these imported, you'll see a little question mark appear right here, meaning that I have no idea where your file is. You need to find it and tell me where it is before you can use it. That's frustrating. All right. So once you use the catalog, you can't move the files. It makes it easier to find stuff that you maybe shot a year or two ago because you can search for things, or you can use collections, but it can also be frustrating if you don't do this process correctly. So in my case, I might get a new hard drive and name it something different, and then the location for those files probably doesn't exist anymore, and then Lightroom won't be able to use them because of the process in which it catalogs and saves data. All right. So first thing we're going to do is show you how to import, or what I call ingest. So we've selected the drive coming in, and now we're going to come over here and say, hey, this is where we want to go to. So I'm going to click on this, and you can pick desktop pictures, which is your pictures folder on a Mac. I'm actually going to choose another destination, and we are going to choose this SSD here and hit choose. So now you can see this is the location. All right. The catalog will work on both Mac and PC, but you can see the location for where the images go is going to be different on a Macintosh versus a PC. So a lot of times it doesn't really work because it can't find your images because this path is different between the two computers. I know it's a pain in the neck. So I don't suggest people use a Mac and a PC to do this. All right, so next thing we have over here is file handling. If it's closed, you can just toggle these little windows. All right. Oh, one thing that you should see is sometimes over here in devices, it will ask you, there's a little checkbox that once you're done, do you want it to eject the card? The way I did this, it's not allowing me to do it. Usually make sure that that little box is checked. Because then once it's done importing, it will automatically dump your SD card, so you don't have to do it. So you can just literally pull it out without ejecting it. All right, so build previews. So you can come here, you have minimal, which is going to be the fastest, standard, and then 1:1, meaning full resolution. I have set on mine as standard. This can really save you time. This is one of the really slow parts of Lightroom. So the higher you have it, the longer it's going to take. But all right. So build smart previews. You can, if you want to use the smart preview section, you can do that. We're not going to use that. Don't import suspected duplicates. That's tough to say this morning. All right. If you don't want to, let's say I had this photo and I already imported these. If I have this checked, it wouldn't let me import these over again. You would see they would be kind of like darkened, and it wouldn't let you try to import the same photos over again. I turned that off just because it causes me problems. Make a second copy. So this is always good. If you want to import these into 2 different locations for safety, feel free to click on that and pick another selection. And if you want to automatically add the images to a collection, you can do that. I'll be talking about collections later. Personally, I would never want to add an import to a collection because it would be way too many images. So next is file renaming, and this is a great thing for workflow. This is something you definitely want to do. You can see because I've already imported these, I've already use this, but we will just kind of override it here. So I do custom name plus sequence. There's all kinds of different things that you can pick. And then I'm going to put this in. So we will just put a date, and I'll put 1-1-2018 since it's 2018. All right. So you can see down here now this is going to be 1-1-2018. And I actually meant to put something before this, and we will call this Outlaws since this is sprint car racing. So I have a name and a date. You can see here I'm using more information because this is for a newspaper. So I have my initials in the newspaper as well. But you want at least 2 things. One is the slug, so you know what it is, and then the date of when you shot it, because you'll run into the situation sometimes you shoot things multiple times, and sometimes it helps you'll be able to remember which one of the folders you want if you can actually see that date. So start number 1, yes, that's where we want to start. All right, so develop settings, I leave those at none. Those are kind of a little preset, and we'll get into that as well. So if you wanted to automatically convert these to a specific black and white look, this is where you would select these, but we're not going to get into that. Metadata is something I definitely use. So I will just put new so we can see a new one, what it looks like. So if you're a journalist or even just a photographer, I have this all filled out. These are all kinds of different fields. All right. So we have basic, just a copy name, rating if you have it, a caption, camera info. So anything that's selected is going to appear. All right. And so this is AP style book. So copyright, I put my copyright, my name on here. So people know who took the photos. I also have my address and my phone number and all that stuff. So if somebody saw this image and wanted to use it, they would be able to easily contact me. So most people who would be doing this would understand where these fields, this file info or this data is saved as. All right, so there's all kinds of information that you can put into it. You can look into these, even keywords, which is great for search engine optimization these days. So you would fill that out. I already have mine filled out, So I will just select my name, and now all that information is going to be, this is the ingest part, added to each photo. So each photo is going to have this embedded into the image, which is important. All right, so the next thing that we have here is destination. All right, so we picked the destination up here, but this is saying, hey, do you want this into one folder? Do you want it by date or by original folder? All right, so up here we created this. So down here, it's showing us kind of what we did with the image, where it's going to go. And so do we want a folder? So we want it in the original folder, no, or into one folder. So into subfolder, and then click on this and give it a name. So not only did I give the name up here where it's custom text or outlaws, all right, you don't have to have the date here. So like, let's say if I just want to call this outlaws, you don't need the date on your slug, all right? It's not as important as it is to have it here. So this, I could call this outlaws, and then do 1-1-2018. So that folder name is then going to appear down here in this thing. So you can see right here, there's a folder called Outlaws 1-1-18. And so these images are going to go into this folder and all have the name Outlaws-1-2-3-4, which is what I did here. All right. So once you've done all that, that's pretty much it. You can go ahead and hit import. So the way Lightroom works is it copies the images first. So it's saying 2 operations in progress. It's copying, it's moving the images from the compact flash card to the hard drive. And then the second operation that you're seeing is the rendering of the images. And this is the slow part of Lightroom. So rendering is, once I click on this, now notice it's nice, fast, it's nice and clear. So if I kind of scroll down here, we'll see it's taking a while for things. See if we can get one to come up out of focus. So yeah, you can see it's out of focus, loading. That's the rendering. It hasn't got there yet. In Photo Mechanic, it's rendered as soon as you can see it. So as I'm going through here, which is called culling, but I don't call it culling. You'll hear me call it tagging, culling, tagging, same idea. I'm trying to go through my image and look at them. So we will start that process. So this is going on. I usually start this culling or tagging process as soon as I see the first image, right? I don't want to wait. So especially for something like this that's journalism, you just want to go, all right? So I'm using my right hand on the right and left arrow keys, all right? And you can see I'm scrolling through the images. So right here, we're in this kind of grid mode, all right? You can control this grid mode by sliding this little slider. I'm sorting my images by capture time, and I will get more into some of this. We're just going to be going over this import process today. But what I'm going to do is switch over to this. You can also just double click on one of these and instantly go to that window. So my right hand on the arrows, and I'm just tapping that, going through, all right? Any image that I like, I can tag, all right? So tagging means I'm giving it some information. So I hit 1, the number 1, just the number 1, and notice this star popped up, all right? If I hit the number 2, I get 2 stars. If I hit the number 3, I get 3 stars. If I hit 4, I get 4 stars. 5 stars. 0, back to 0, all right? 6 gives you a color red, yellow, 7, 8, green, 0, back to nothing, all right? So that is the tagging process. If I want to say, hey, this is only worth 1 star, I can do that. All right. And then let's say I come to this one and say that's worth 5 stars. You can do it that way. I don't. I just give everything 1 star, all right? Because I don't really care if it's a 1 star or a 5 star. All I'm doing to myself is saying, I like this image. I want it to be considered in my final edit. So we're going through here. We'll give that one an image. Just going through here. Give that guy. Give that guy. You can see sometimes I'm going through here. All right. We'll get that one. Give that one. And I'm just clicking on some so we have a variety of images. I didn't really care what they look like, truthfully. Don't even remember what I shot. And we're just culling through these images very quickly. Now these have all rendered, so that's why we're kind of getting this stuff up fast. All right. Let's see, sometimes I'll click backwards with my finger to go and pick something else up. All right, so we're going through all those images, right? So I've tagged some of those with 1 star. So now I need to isolate those images. So I'm going to come over here to filters and hit rated. And now notice the only images that show are the images with at least 1 star. So notice if I want only the images with 5 stars to show, if I click 5 stars, now only 1 image is going to show because I only gave 1 star. So we'll come back down here and click. So now I have probably more photos than I would actually want to tone. So I can go through a second time and I can hit the number 2. And now that I've kind of picked a variety of stuff, I can kind of pick the images, let's say, that I might actually want to use. All right. So let's say we want those. Now we'll go to this. We'll click 2 stars. And now we have these images. And we'll say, okay, those are the images that I actually want to work on in Lightroom. All right. So just to clarify a few things, this was all done in the library, which is basically your browser. We're going to be going on to edit or tone images, which is in the develop module. But right now we're in the library. All right. If you wanted to get rid of what we just did, that's very easy. You can just get rid of this and stop using it. So just turn rated off. All right, we're going to keep that alive. So that is going to be today the first part of how to import and use Lightroom. So hopefully this is helpful. Any questions or comments, please leave those below. I will get back to you. So thanks for watching.